I am just remembering a life experience when I was a teenager. If I remember, I was around 12 years old, maybe. Between 12 and 15, I really don't remember. But anyway, I used to live in Panama in an apartment complex. My daddy was very rich, all kinds of stuff. My father, around $10 million when he died, but I think he was already having had a lot of money back then when I was growing up. For some reason, my father married another lady that was not my mom, but he was very, very rich, and I was raised very poor. I believe my dad used to give my mother $100 a month, no, $50 a month first. Then he increased it to $100 a month. Those $50 a month has to last us, my mother and three kids, my sister, brother, and I. Those $50 have to last for a month for food. Of course, he was paying the rent, I think, yes. My mother was not working and she was not on government help because in Panama, back then, there was no government help for single mothers, families that struggle. So anyway, I was raised. I remember first in a room. First, I lived like in a motel room, something like that. Very poor. If you see my pictures when I was growing up, I was very skinny. I would not even remember to eat. I mean, I would not have any food, so I wouldn't even be hungry. You get to that point. It's like the kids in Africa. There's no food to eat, so you don't even get stimulated by the food, so you're not even hungry. I was on a skeleton almost. I was so thin, no nutrition, and I was anemic. My father was rich, but he would only give my mother, like I said, $50 a month for us to eat. So I remember growing up with no nutrition, not a good nutrition at all. I will go sick to school, have all kinds of allergies, and I was always sleepy, anemic. So they will find me with my head laying down on the desk of the school chair. I remember all that stuff. I would lay my head down. I could not even pay attention to the teacher. So anyway, to make the story short, um, before I continue, I want to say this also. I remember my supper being day after day after day after day. My supper was um, bread with butter and a cup of tea, hot tea, and bread and butter. That was my dinner for many, many, many years. Um, I remember probably eating something better for breakfast, like eggs and something like that. But anyway, we lack a food, steaks, stuff that will give you iron. My mom will cook sometimes lentils, and that really help. Beans, real cheap stuff, that we had in Panama to eat. But anyway, to make the story not too long, I was such an skeleton. I got pictures. I mean, you had to see me, and even though I didn't have a very good nutrition, my hair was so thick and long for a while, though. And then because of my genes, my sister also had very thick, healthy, beautiful hair. My hair was so thick that my mom has to use both hands to hold it, to try to make a ponytail and stuff like that. But I was very, very thin. But anyway, going back to the story, I was just remembering this morning. I had a neighbor. Between 12 or 15 years old. I had a neighbor in an apartment place where I lived, and his name was Hussein. Like Saddam Hussein, Hussein. And he was a very clever boy. He was very active and kind of a little hyper. And I never forget one time his apartment was beside mine. He called me back. He called me to his apartment. His mom was in the back there, and he had a chair there for me. Then he said, "I want you to sit in this chair." And I said, "Why?" Well, anyway, I just obeyed what he asked me. He was about my same age. And then he stepped in the back of the chair like he was holding the chair for me to sit. And then the moment that I sit, he pulled the chair off. And I smacked the floor with my butt. I sit on the floor. I fell on the floor. I mean, this story reminds me of an experience that I had here in the United States all my life, Hussein, the same personality of somebody I know. You guys know who I'm talking about. He put the chair, he stepped in the back of the chair, and he said, "Sit down." And when I sit down, he pulled the chair off, and I fell on the floor. I had nothing else to say.